California has put E15 back in the spotlight. Governor Newsom wants a quick decision on making E15 available across the state. We'll get the latest on that development and think about what it might mean across the country. And it is Monday. That means it's time for an update on what's happening in the used machinery market.
Live with brand new infrastructure installed via Farm Journal broadcast, this is AgriTalk. This morning we'll begin with a conversation with Machinery Pete. That's Greg Peterson. Then it's Geoff Cooper from the Renewable Fuels Association. Directly following the news, Kirk Hinz from BAM WX. I'm handsome newsman Davis Michelson. Now, welcome the host of AgriTalk, Chip Flory.
All right, Davis. Geez. With new infrastructure installed,
right.
it makes me think that some sort of an environmental catastrophe was avoided.
Yes, absolutely it was. New septic line. Yeah, new septic
Nice.
line all the way out to the street. Yeah.
Nice.
Here's the thing.
Well, I'm sure that was cheap.
Worth it. Let's just say that, because you flush the toilet and the stuff goes away. I don't know where it goes, but it goes away again, which is great. Yeah, just make it go away. Here's the other thing, though. They had to dig down, 15, 20 feet in the front yard.
Sure.
They did a beautiful job of putting all the dirt back, packing it down real good, starting at the very lowest levels. You got to tamp that down.
Yeah.
But now there's a big hill that just sort of ends at the sidewalk edge here. So, hello, more new infrastructure. I got to get a landscaping guy to come and help me keep my dirt now. That's the next thing. It just never ends. Never ends.
I'm telling you, never ends is exactly right.
Fortunately, Kansas City is populated with some of the most talented and generous craftspeople known to modern man. I got that going for me. Yeah,
absolutely.
Good folks.
Absolutely. It's not hard to find good help down there. That's how I understand
Not so far.
it. Anyway, all right, 55 degrees up here this morning, heading for a high in the low 70s.
We had a beautiful weekend. It's supposed to be a little warmer today here. We're 66, headed for 83, but it's windy. It's a cold wind blowing.
Yeah, the wind is expected to pick up here out of the south and bring some potential for record high temperatures into northeast Iowa tomorrow. So we'll see, and we'll check with Kirk on that here in just a moment. We got a lot of ground to cover. Let's go ahead and get it going.
Well, the National Weather Service is calling for a strong Pacific system to track across the Intermountain West early this week. Strong winds and higher elevation snow will affect the western states. Farther east here, strong southerly winds will usher in record warmth for most of the central and eastern United States. The threat for rapid spread of wildfires today, then increasing chances for severe thunderstorms for the center of the nation. Rains fell across center-west and center-south Brazil during the weekend, Chip, and more rainfall through those areas is expected over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we'll get an update from Kirk here in just a moment. So,
good deal. Yep. Private exporters reported the following sales activity. 124,000 metric tons of corn sold for delivery to Japan during the 24-25 marketing year, and 120,000 metric tons of corn for delivery to unknown destinations, also for the 24-25 marketing year. Chip, is that 9 days in a row of daily corn sales?
I think that's right. Right. 9 consecutive business days in a row with a daily export sales announcement for corn. That's good news. Now, it's not really doing that much to support the corn market here this morning, but it's good to see the demand coming in here.
Well, Chip, oil prices fell sharply after Israel's weekend attacks on Iran avoided targeting key oil and nuclear infrastructure. Iran's measured response, signaling no immediate retaliation, helped ease fears of regional supply disruption. Let me just scroll down a little bit. What's the crude look like currently here, Chip? You got it on?
Crude
here we go.
Right now is down huge.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. The D's off like 420 right now. Wow.
Right. Decide not to attack the Iranian oil facilities. Evidently is good for $3.5, $4 in downside in this crude oil market. Wow.
I guess thanks then. Election year politics, clearly the focus in Washington with November 5 elections deciding the fate of the White House, the House, and the Senate. Polls suggest a tight race for the presidency and the House, with most expecting a GOP takeover of the Senate. It's almost over, Chip.
Yeah.
Well, according to the University of Florida Election Lab, over 41 million Americans voted early as of yesterday afternoon. More than 65 million mail-in ballots were requested. Of those, about 21 million ballots have been returned. Additionally, over 20 million people have cast early in-person votes.
Yeah, I like to make a thing of it on election day. Be, one of the first in line at the precinct and, grab a donut or something on the way home along with my I voted sticker. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, little treat.
Yeah.
That's good. USDA raised its food price inflation outlook for both 2024 and 2025, with all food prices in 2024 now expected to rise 2.3%. That's up from 2.2% in September. Egg prices in focus. Continued volatility there. 2024 costs projected to rise 8.8%, driven by the ongoing impact of highly pathogenic avian influenza. China's industrial profits plunged to 27.1% from a year earlier in September. That's the steepest fall of the year. And finally, McDonald's on Sunday ruled out beef patties as a source of the E. coli outbreak linked to quarter pounders. Colorado Department of Ag said all subsamples of multiple lots of McDonald's brand fresh and frozen beef patties have tested negative. Chip?
All right, Davis, thank you very much. Let's bring in Kirk Hens, BAMWX.com. Good morning, Kirk.
Good morning, sir. How are we?
Hey, I'm good. Temperatures are warm. It's going to be a little windy, though, it looks like.
Yeah, especially the first half of the week for the plains. Definitely going to be windy, but you mentioned that warmth. It's not one to go away very quickly. I think the next 1 to 2 weeks, it's pretty locked in. Still thinking the consensus agreement is like, whereas we're getting into that second half of November, as we're going towards the first holiday into Thanksgiving, I think that's when that real colder change can start to work in. But no doubt the next couple of weeks definitely warm.
Okay. And there's some chances for rains making their way into the outlook, isn't there?
Yes. Yeah, especially over the next 5 to 10 days for like your Wisconsins, Iowas, the Southern Plains, pretty significantly wetter, I would say, especially since how dry that it's been, multiple inches on the forecast there. So next 5 to 10 days, that's where that focus is going to be, especially across the central United States. So
yeah, wet trick-or-treating on Thursday?
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a front to work through. I'm not sure it's a washout for anybody, but again, it's been so dry lately. Got to note it.
Yeah, exactly. What, any feature out of South America?
Yeah, I would say a couple things. Central Brazil, those rains have been verifying. So just to kind of mention that one real quick. Still think Southern Brazil, Uruguay, Argentina, that's the area to watch. More so for the longer term, November, December, as we're going into the new year, just based on this La Nina-like feel, that's the area to watch where there would be dryness to set up. So again, no major red flags at the exact moment. It's something to look forward to over the coming months.
Yeah, and we need to keep track of what's happening in the ENSO status and the development or lack of development in this La Nina going forward. So we'll keep relying on you guys at BAMWX for that. Thank you, Kirk.
Awesome. Thanks, Chip.
All right. That's Kirk Hens, BAMWX.com. All right. Coming up next, it's Monday morning. Time for an update on what's happening in the used machinery markets. Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete, next.
Machinery Pete on AgriTalk is brought to you by Firestone Ag. Firestone Ag now offers Bridgestone tractor tires, the ultimate lineup of tires engineered to deliver enhanced wear life, durability, and ride comfort on the road. To learn more, talk to your local certified Firestone Ag dealer.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm Chip. Glad that you are with us for one of the highlights of the week. We get to have a conversation with Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. Highlight of the week. Thanks for that. Yeah. Well, I'm doing well. You left me speechless.
Jeez, don't be thrown by that, Greg. I must not show my appreciation enough.
No, it's just hard for Norwegians to accept compliments. That's just all that is. My bad. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Okay, let's get right to it with the pick of the week. What do you got?
Well, pick of the week. Before I hop into that, I do want to do a quick little shout out. I threw a note on social yesterday. Alvin Al McQuinn, actually, shout out for Al. It was 93 years old, passed away last Wednesday. Al was the founder of AgChem company in 1963, of course, Jackson, Minnesota, and developed the rogators and the Terragators.
Yeah.
Precision agriculture, kind of a pioneer there. Amazing life, passed away at 93. So shout out to Al for an amazing life in American agriculture there. And then if we transition to the pick of the week, we're heading to North Carolina. Sale Saturday, Chip. I had posted about this sale last week in advance. I kind of suspected it would be a hot one. Very nice equipment. It was a farm estate auction. Zebulon, North Carolina, sale by my friend Jason Aycock, and some really strong prices. They had a John Deere 7830, low hours, 1,020 hours, brought 150K. That's the highest auction price this year on a 7830. Okay. For you Case fans, they had a 2390 with low hours again, 2,745 hours. That brought $23,000, third highest auction price ever on a 2390. They had a New Holland 555E backhoe. Similar deal, very low hours, 1,362 hours. That went for $34,000, tied for the highest auction price ever on a 555E. Bush hog 2815, 15-foot batwing mower, like new condition. That brought $23K, second highest auction price ever. Kind of an interesting combine, a John Deere 9450. Don't see a ton of those around these days. 3,012 engine hours. That brought $40K. And then a pickup, a 23 model Chevy Z71 4x4 crew cab, Duramax diesel, only 1,673 miles. So, I mean, it's like a demo unit, basically. That brought 49,000. So that was quite a sale Saturday in Zebulon, North Carolina.
Yeah, I guess. Well, and that truck sale shows just how they are holding their value even as we get further and further from the supply disruptions that we were dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, used pickups, the new ones are still so expensive that anytime you see a used one with low miles, it still obviously attracts a lot of interest. This one was white. I forgot to mention. I do like to track the color of pickups. I've always been partial to black myself. I don't know. My Mrs. Machinery Pete is very particular about washing her vehicles. I am not, on the other hand. So I don't know if that's good or bad, if that hides it. But anyway, that was a sharp white pickup that brought $49K Saturday.
Yeah. All right. Anything else from that auction that really popped out at you? I mean, it sounds like it was. I don't know. Was it an auction that was a bit out of the trend that we have been seeing here recently? It sounds like prices were fairly strong.
Yeah, I could say, you could say that. That's a good observation, Chip. But again, because generally prices have been, obviously we understand why, but have been pulling back somewhat. Now this sale, again, if we analyze, this was low hour equipment, again, 1,020 hours on a 7830, but the age, that 7830's got some, it's pre-def stuff basically. And then you run across something like a 555E backhoe or that Case 2390 with those kind of low hours. We would expect, premium pricing, but then it's interesting to me because it was in eastern North Carolina, which is a very vibrant agricultural area. I've been down there a number of times and hope to spend more time there going forward. But again, the first 30 years I was doing this, any sales out of the southern part of the country, no matter how nice the equipment was, they just didn't quite compare to Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, Ohio prices. But that kind of got chucked out the window through the pandemic. And when the good stuff shows up there now like this, it just shows you that, with online bidding, your buyers are coming from everywhere. And, it's just a different ballgame.
Right. Okay. All right. You've got an awesome story to share on Jason. Let's hear that.
Yeah, the auctioneer on that sale Saturday was Jason Aycock. Fantastic young auctioneer I've been working with for a while now. And Jason has a sale coming up Saturday, November 9th in Lewisburg, North Carolina. And he reached out to me a couple weeks ago and he said, "Hey, Pete, just want to chat about this." And of course, we're coming off of the Hurricane Helene that just devastated, Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee with flooding, flash flooding, landslides, roads washed out. And of course, in farm country, I mean, the story has been difficult to report because it's been so hard to physically get there. But Jason is a good dude. And he said, Pete, on this Saturday, November 9th auction, I want to sell my own personal Alice Chalmers 8070 mechanical front tractor. It's got 9,332 hours, very sharp tractor. And Jason's going to donate 100% of the proceeds to help the farmers in Western North Carolina who are struggling so much to recover from the hurricane.
Nice.
And so I'll be posting some more info. Watch for this, folks. But you can, if you want to check it out, sales on proxy bid, you can, of course, check it out there, or acocauctioneering.com. Again, it's Saturday, November 9th. And Jason is going to sell the tractor, but then also open it up and say, if anyone wants to, tack on a little contribution. And again, 100% of the money goes to help farmers and ranchers that are really struggling, to get hay, and with devastated roads, they're just really having a tough time there.
He'll make sure that it gets used right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Jason's working with Farm Bureau in North Carolina very closely. And again, watch upcoming episodes of Machinery Pete TV. We'll be telling more about this story, folks.
Excellent. Okay. Talk to me, stay in the Southeast and talk to me about the sales there at AgPro.
Yeah, this was a big sale. A lot of eyes on this last Tuesday. Sale by Merit Auctions. AgPro, of course, a great John Deere dealership with a huge footprint from Ohio down into the Southeast, Georgia. They had another online auction with some very late model equipment of interest. They had a 22 model John Deere X9 1000 combine, 585 engine hours, sold for $440,000. Now that's interesting. If I look at the average auction price on X9 1000 so far this year, right now it's about $473,000. I've seen them as high as $585 and as low as $385.5. Had a 23 model John Deere S780 combine, 249 engine hours, went for $407,500. That's a little bit above the average auction price on a 23 model S780 so far this year, just over $369,000. A couple tractors of note. They had a 23 model Case IH Stagger 500 quad track, 256 hours. That one for $385,000. And then a pair of John Deere 8R410s, 23 model, 416 hours for $357,500. And a 22 model, same hours basically, 415 hours for $352,500. And Chip, when I look at the John Deere 8R410s now, so far this year, the average auction price, again, those brought $357,500, $352,500. Average is $348,005. And that's surprising. That's only down 11.4%, which, it's, kind of a late model tractor. You'd expect some depreciation. But where we're seeing more of the heavy depreciation is on the, a little bit of that a couple years older type stuff. So again, those were interesting prices last Tuesday for our friends at AgPro company there.
Okay. All right. Hey, jump out to the sale that is happening on Thursday. Give us a bit of a preview there.
Yeah, Thursday. I just posted this on social media. It's by our friends at Ulmer Auction out in Mononkin. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Mononkin, North Dakota, for gooseneck implements. So it's kind of a monster mash Halloween auction. No reserve sale on Thursday. 18 John Deere tractors, 25 to 185 horse, 15 John Deere Gators side-by-sides, 20 lawnmowers, 6 round balers. Again, it's Ulmer Auction. This sale is also their new grand opening at their Mononkin, North Dakota site. I think it's right off I-94 there. Free lunch. But again, a great buying opportunity kind of on the lower horse tractors, Gators, lawnmowers, a few round balers. Check it out, folks. It's ulmeronlineauctions.com. Sale is on Halloween on Thursday.
All right. So, over the years, does it pay to have an auction on Halloween? Great. Have you not done the research on that?
No, I haven't. I would say people are in a good mood. I would say prices tend to be a little higher. Great question, Chip. Maybe it's a candy rush.
Yeah, exactly. All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Sounds great, Chip.
All right, Greg Peterson, Machinery Pete, here on AgriTalk. We're talking E15. in California with Geoff Cooper from RFA up next.
Time for Markets Now with the experts from ProFarmer.
ProFarmer editor Brian Grady joins us right now. Beej, starting the week in the grains on the defensive. What's going on?
Well, I'm going to turn to the outside markets, Chip. Crude oil futures, they're about $4 lower and just facing heavy pressure and casting a negative shadow across most of the commodity complex here to kick off the week, and that includes the grain and soy market. So we're seeing corn futures trade about 2 cents lower, soybeans 8 to 9 cents lower, wheat market 4 to 7 cents lower in most of those contracts, and so just a negative tone. But soy oil, it's taking the brunt of the pressure from the crude oil market. It's more than 140 points lower in the front end of the market, and like I said, just a negative tone to kick off the week. On the positive side, it isn't having any price influence, but another daily corn sale. So the 9th straight day of daily corn sales, this time 2 of them, one to Japan and one to unknown destinations.
Yeah. Well, corn's trying to float, it feels like to me. I mean, the soybeans, wheat dragging to the downside, corn's maybe trying to float in here. So maybe those export sales are helping us out here a bit and limiting the losses. Talk to me about what's happening in the livestock trade.
Yeah, so live cattle futures modestly weaker here at mid-morning. Last Friday's cattle on feed report was pretty neutral. The on-feed number was virtually unchanged from a year ago. The placements did come in just a tad heavier than what was anticipated, but down from a year ago. And so not a whole lot of price response, to be honest with you, in the live cattle futures. Cash cattle trade later on this week will be key there. Feeders trading mildly to the upside, and the same is the case with hog futures.
All right, good stuff, Brian. Thank you so much. ProFarmer editor Brian Grady. Get more at tryprofarmer.com.
Opinions expressed on AgriTalk do not necessarily reflect the views of Farm Journal Broadcasting, affiliate stations, or sponsors. I don't know what you're thinking. So call us at 855-4-TALK-AG and tell us what's on your mind.
Welcome back to AgriTalk. I'm Chip, and E15 jumped back into the spotlight on Friday. And it's because California Governor Gavin Newsom said on Friday that he wants CARB, the California Air Resource Board, to up the priority on E15 and to make a decision on whether or not E15 can be sold in that California market. Geoff Cooper, President and CEO of the Renewable Fuels Association, joins us right now to talk about that. Geoff, it's good to talk to you again. How are you?
I'm doing great, Chip. How are you this morning?
Good. Now, what Governor Newsom is looking for, is this to make E15 available or E15 available year-round? What exactly is he looking for?
Well, he's simply asking CARB to pick up the pace on their process to approve the allowance of E15 in the state of California. And because of California's unique regulatory environment, it would have year-round availability from day one. So we wouldn't have that same summertime barrier in California that we have in other states. He's simply saying, look, CARB, we've been waiting for years for you to go through the formal rulemaking process to allow the sale of E15. We're at a point now where California has the highest gas prices in the nation. I think everybody knows that. They're going to go even higher because refineries are closing down in the state of California. They've got other new policies that they think are going to add to gas prices. So the governor, I think, is looking for solutions to help keep a lid on gas prices, and he rightly has turned to E15 as one of those solutions. We have been, I think, as you know, Chip, trying to work with CARB for the last 6 or 7 years to get them to approve the use of E15 in that state. They've been dragging their feet. They've done all the testing. They've done all the emissions analysis. They've done all the technical work, but they haven't taken that final step of approving the fuel via their rulemaking process. The governor's letter is telling them, hey, it's time to get on it and get that done.
Yeah, okay. It seems like Newsom jumps from economic to environmental and back again when he's making a push to get anything done on the fuel side of things. Which is it this time? Is it economic or environmental?
Well, fortunately for us, it's both, and ethanol checks both of those boxes. E15 checks both of those boxes. But what is really driving this current conversation, Chip, is the economic side. Governor Newsom is under immense pressure right now about gas prices in the state of California. Consumers are sick and tired of paying the highest prices in the country, and not by a little bit, by a wide margin. And so there is a lot of political pressure, a lot of political heat on both the governor and the legislative body out there to do something about it. That's why the governor called the legislature back for a special session this fall to specifically to focus on proposals that could address high gas prices. E15 was on the table in that special session for a while. It made it through one chamber of the legislature, but not through their Senate. So I think, in the wake of all of that, the governor is now saying again, look, E15 needs to be at the top of the list when we look at solutions for keeping gas prices down. His letter to CARB actually cited a study by economists at the University of California, Berkeley. So we're not talking about, economists at Iowa State or Illinois or anywhere else. We're talking about UC Berkeley did a study that said, hey, if California allowed E15 statewide, that could put, 20 cents per gallon back in the pockets of California drivers. It could save you 20 cents a gallon if they had access to E15.
And then, Jeff, to counter that, I saw one piece of quote unquote analysis on this that said that if this is allowed, it would raise the cost of gasoline by 47 to 65 cents per gallon. I don't understand that at all. Help me.
Yeah, so we saw that article too, Chip, and began digging into it. And I think where the confusion comes in is there are really two things that CARB is looking at right now. One is, hey, do we get off our tails and get E15 done? And number two is they've got new amendments to their low carbon fuel standard that they are going to be voting on in another week or so. And that article is saying if those changes to the LCFS get adopted, that's going to cause higher gas prices, not the E15 piece. So I think that's where there's been some confusion. And again, I think the governor's looking at that and recognizing that, yeah, if some of these LCFS changes go through, making it harder for low cost renewable fuels like ethanol to contribute to their LCFS, that could put upward pressure on gas prices. What can we do to counteract that? And that's where E15 comes into play.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that those two pieces of analysis can exist at the same time. One saying, listen, it'll drop prices by 20 cents. The other one says it'll raise prices by 50 cents. It just, talk about frustrating.
Well, it is.
I mean, it's frustrating to me. I can't even believe what it would be to you.
Well, fortunately, Chip, we've been able to go to lawmakers in the state of California and folks in the governor's office with real world evidence from 31 other states that are currently selling E15. We're able to show them pictures of price marquees and actual pumps so they can see with their very own eyes what the price differential is for E15. And we can show them in Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, take your pick. E15 is going to be 15 to 20 to 25, 30 cents cheaper than E10. In some places, it's going to be even more of a differential than that. So we've been able to show them that evidence. And I think we've convinced many in the state that E15 absolutely would be an economic benefit for drivers out there.
Okay. All right. One thing about this is it's important across the country for this because there are so many states that seem to follow California's lead on issues like this. If California gets this done in short order, I shouldn't say short order, finally gets this done, would you expect other states to follow?
Well, we certainly have seen many cases in the past where California does something, and then very shortly thereafter, Oregon and Washington do the same thing, and the states in the Northeast do the same thing. So, yeah, we think if California makes E15 a priority, and you've got Governor Newsom out there saying, "Hey, this is a win-win." Those were his words. This is going to lower gas prices. It's going to keep our air clean. That's going to get the attention of governors in those other states. So we're that's why
It's
we're
important.
so yeah, it is important, man, and we're very encouraged by what we saw out of the governor's office late last week, and we hope that that's enough to get CARB again unstuck and off a dead center and get this thing done. There's no reason to keep dragging their feet on this.
Okay. All right. Couple of other issues here real quick. What's your message to the Treasury Department regarding 45Z details?
That message is simple. Get a proposal out. Get a proposal out. We're headed into November. There's two months left in this year. We're 2 months away from that tax credit taking effect by law, and we have no details, not even proposed details on how this tax credit is going to operate in practice. So get it out so we can start chewing on it, and the industry and our partners in agriculture can begin to plan and look ahead to next year. So that's message number one. Number two is don't screw it up, and take the lessons that we learned from 40B, the SAF credit, and don't repeat those. If we're going to include farming practices, which we should, don't tie them together, don't bundle them, allow farmers to pick and choose what practices work best for their operations, and allow those practices to be incorporated into the life cycle analysis in a straightforward and simple manner.
Right. Okay. All right. Not a lot of time left, but there was news on small refinery exemptions here recently. Basically what it is, or correct me if I'm wrong, there's going to be a decision on which courts can decide SRE court cases, right? Or requests.
That's correct, Chip.
Okay.
The Supreme Court recently decided that they were going to hear our appeal, and an appeal from EPA of a decision out of the Fifth Circuit, which is down in the Gulf Coast region, where the Fifth Circuit Court, thought it had the authority to issue a decision on a challenge from small refiners to the denial of their SRE petitions. And we said, hey, that court should have never heard that challenge. It's the wrong venue. Only the DC Circuit can hear those cases. So now the Supreme Court is going to sort that out. And we are confident and certainly hopeful that they're going to agree with us and agree with EPA that the proper venue for any challenges to the RFS, including small refinery exemptions, is the DC Circuit Court. That's where that belongs.
And the reason for that is because it's federal law.
That's right. The Renewable Fuel Standard is a national program. If you give out an exemption, it lowers the national amount of renewable fuels that are going to be blended. So the statute is very clear. The law is very clear that issues that have that nationwide scope belong in the DC Circuit when there's any challenges to those regulations.
Yep. All right. Hey, Geoff, it's always great to get you on the show here, man. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Hey, always happy to do it, Chip. Have a great week.
All right, you too. Geoff Cooper, President and CEO of the Renewable Fuels Association. Okay, Davis and I will be right back. We've got some summaries to do here, including, I think it's more than just Oregon and Washington that might be influenced by California.
Our name says it all. AgriTalk. What more do you need to know? And welcome back to AgriTalk, everyone. Your pal, Davis Michelson, here in attendance. Let's see. I'm going down my list. Flory.
Yes.
Flory.
Yes. Here.
Flory is
present.
here as well.
Present.
Okay. We're all accounted for here.
Okay. Good.
You threw out a little teaser there about about the influence of California rulemaking, legislation, etc. We know that Oregon and Washington are pretty friendly as far as, state governments go to some of these ideas coming out of California. That's probably as far as that influence reaches, though, isn't it? It just kind of stays there in the PNW,
No.
shall we call it?
No, it's not. No.
Huh?
No,
Let's talk about that.
The influence when it comes to environmental issues in particular, I think, is much farther reaching than Oregon and Washington. Minnesota, even though Minnesota has been a leader on ethanol since day one, it is still shows the influence of California decisions, rulemaking, so on, in some of its biofuels issues. I'm not saying that they are always, that Minnesota just replicates what California's doing. I'm not saying that by any stretch. Am I saying that Minnesota, there are some in Minnesota that will try to replicate what's happening in California? Probably. But the influence, it on something like E15 goes so much further. And the reason that I think that this is important, and one of the big reasons I wanted to talk about this on the show today, was Tim Burrock, a farmer in Arlington, Iowa, northeast Iowa, reminded us. He's been on the show on the Farmer Forum and on the Free for All, and I mention him from time to time. But he reminded me during the Free for All on Friday that Vivek Ramaswamy, when he was running for president, basically said, listen, just give me E15 across the country and we're going to solve a lot of the problems with biofuel and corn demand and so on and so forth. We're going to solve a lot of the problems, but let's make it the default fuel rather than E10. Okay?
Okay.
And there was a lot of analysis done on that at the time, and it makes a big difference. Is it the next thing that ushers us into the next golden era of agriculture? Maybe not. Is it a 50-cent difference on corn? Maybe. So I think the more that California puts E15 into the spotlight, the more likely it is to be something that other states in other parts of the country will also be considering and pushing for going forward. Yeah.
And if we look at things like what was it, Proposition 12 with the hogs, and then you wind up clear on the other coast in, was it Maryland or Massachusetts? With Question 3.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Similar sort of legislation there. So certainly there's
right.
There's
it matters.
Yeah.
It matters. Yeah. No doubt. No doubt.
A couple things I wanted to just run by here. Some things we didn't get to in the news, if we could just real quick.
Absolutely.
Brian Winnikins from WRDN in Wisconsin has been keeping us apprised of the situation here. The Iowa Department of Agriculture has euthanized approximately 1.3 million chickens that it had taken custody of following the bankruptcy of Pure Prairie Poultry. The drastic action came after the state failed to find buyers for the birds, largely due to creditors' claims on the broilers. So sad end to the Pure Prairie Poultry saga, at least for the chickens themselves.
And I think if they could have found processing space, they would have been able to find a buyer.
Yeah.
Because they would have been sold for 10 cents on the dollar, something like that.
Sure.
But I don't think they could find the processing space to get those birds from the feeder barns into the into consumers' hands.
My wife and I were talking about that just this morning. What isn't there some other place that these birds could have gone? Couldn't we just have? Well, no, because the processors have limits. They can't have a bunch of extra birds laying around. You know what I mean? They can only process as many. They have a threshold there, and beyond that, you're going to wind up with dead, stinky birds out back, and nobody wants that.
And we've got to remember that a processing plant closed in all of this. So we took capacity out of the industry. When you take capacity out of the industry, I don't care if we're talking about poultry or pork or beef. When you do that, you're going to put stressors out there in the industry, and this is one that they couldn't find the room is what it sounds like.
No place to put them. Another quick one here. The American Soybean Association, the ASA, expressed concern over new restrictions imposed by the EPA on glufosinate P herbicide. Citing pressure from environmental groups, the finalized registration released on October 18 unexpectedly tripled runoff points and added a 10-foot ground spray drift buffer. Is this on your radar at all, buddy, right now?
Well, it's just more of the same from this EPA, tightening down on chemicals that have been proven to be reliable, have been proven to be safe, and they just keep tightening down, and it's adding. Well, it's not adding. It's removing opportunities and removing tools that work, which means that you got to go to something else, which may not be as reliable or as environmentally safe, or it's just
not fit your system, the whole
right. It's creating consequences downstream. All right, good stuff, Davis. Thank you so much. Come back this afternoon. Sam Hudson, Corn Belt Marketing, here on AgriTalk.